Deception works not because it presents an entirely false message, but because it mingles truth with error, like subtle shades of white. That slight distortion might seem insignificant, but it changes the essence. When I heard this, I immediately thought of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil in the Garden of Eden. For the longest time, I used to think of the tree as having two distinct parts, good and evil, almost like they were separate. I thought of it as something where at times you could clearly see the good qualities, good character, good intentions, and other times you could see the evil thoughts, evil attitudes, evil actions. I saw them as separate aspects, almost compartmentalized, but now I see it differently. The good and the evil are not separate. They are mingled together. That's the deception. It's not black and white. It's subtle, like shades of white. Bone white, porcelain white, china white. It's still white, but a small adjustment in the tone changes it. That's what makes it so dangerous. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil wasn't entirely evil. It had good in it. But because it mingled good with evil, it became a tree of deception. That's how deception works. It doesn't come blatantly evil with horns and pitchfork. It's a mixture. Enough good to convince you, but enough error to lead you astray. Jesus talks about this concept in Matthew 6:22 and 23. If your eye is single, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is evil, your whole body will be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? That verse used to puzzle me. Why would Jesus say, if the light that is in you be darkness? Isn't light the opposite of darkness? But now I see. He's talking about mixed light that isn't pure. If your light is mingled with darkness, how great is that darkness? Just like the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, where good is mingled with evil. The light becomes corrupted when darkness creeps in. Even a small deviation spoils the whole. It's like a fly in the ointment. It's not enough to be 99% pure. That 1% of error taints everything. This is why Eve was deceived. The serpent didn't outright lie to her. He mingled truth with error. He told her she would be like God, knowing good and evil. And that was partially true. But he withheld the full truth about the consequences of disobedience. This idea of mingling truth with error is exactly how deception works in the world today. It's not always obvious. You can look at some people, even prophets, and think they sound right. Their words come to pass. They seem like they are of God. But then you notice a slight deviation. Maybe a prophecy doesn't come to pass, or something doesn't sit right. That's where discernment comes in. It's hard though, because even Paul says, we know in part and prophesy in part. 1 Corinthians 13:9. And not every prophecy unfolds the way we expect. For example, Jonah prophesied that Nineveh would be destroyed, but the people repented and the judgment was delayed. Does that make Jonah a false prophet? What about Samuel, where it says not one of his words fell to the ground? Does that imply that some prophets are less accurate, but still of God? These are the questions I wrestle with. How do we discern the spirit of truth from the spirit of error? It goes back to what John says in 1 John 4:6. We are of God. He that knoweth God heareth us. He that is not of God heareth not us. Hereby know we the spirit of truth and the spirit of error. If we are genuinely born again, filled with the Spirit of God, and walking in truth, we'll have the discernment to recognize deception. But it's not always easy. Deception can look so much like the truth that even the elect could be deceived, if it were possible. Matthew 24:24. That's why abiding in God, staying in the Word, and loving the truth are so critical. Without that firm connection to Him, we are vulnerable to the mingling of good and evil, of truth and error. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil wasn't just a tree. It was a symbol of deception. And it's the same strategy that the enemy uses today.